The dust of Xylos Prime clung to everything. My suit, my breath, the metallic tang in the air. It coated the jagged peaks of the crimson spires that clawed at the perpetually twilight sky, and it filled the deep fissures that snaked across the landscape like ancient scars. This planet was a graveyard for ambition, a monument to greed. My name is Jax, and I was a specialist, not in demolition, not in extraction, but in impossible tasks. And today, my task was to tame a beast that had annihilated armies, all for one girl, the Leviathan Drakes. They were the apex predators of Xylos Prime, territorial guardians of the planet's hidden heart. 20 meters of scale muscle razor claws, and a roar that could crack plasteel. Their hides shifted with the ambient light, camouflage so perfect they could disappear into the very dust they stirred. Entire mercenary companies, armed with plasma cannons and railguns, had been reduced to scattered bones and fused metal. But the Drakes weren't mindless killers. They were protectors. I knew this because she told me. Vara, her skin was the impossible green of a jungle seen only in ancient Earth holos. Long, flowing purple hair, alive with static, cascaded around her shoulders. Horns, like polished obsidian, curved elegantly from her temples. Her eyes, luminous gold, held a wisdom that spanned epochs. She was a sylph, a guardian caste of Xylos Prime, bound to the planet's living essence. Most humans who encountered sylphs didn't survive, mistaking their fierce territoriality for malice. But Vara had sought me out. Ethel, her voice, a melodic rasp, had resonated in my comms unit weeks ago. The Drake you seek. He protects the luminous bloom, the last pure one. I had scoffed. And why do you need a human, a mercenary, to deal with your local wildlife? Your people have methods. Her golden eyes, even through comms, had seemed to pierce me. Our methods, human, are of this world, bound by its rhythms. The corruption, it is not a Xylos. It is an echo of external greed, and only a dissonant chord can play a new harmony. She spoke in riddles, as all sylphs did, but the meaning became chillingly clear. The luminous bloom, the source of her people's life, their very connection to the planet, was dying. A slow, agonizing decay caused by the relentless, invasive strip mining, a rival corporate faction that had arrived months ago. The Drakes, like Ethel, were fighting a losing war, defending a poisoned well, and the girl I needed to save, that was the consciousness of the luminous bloom itself, a dormant, fragile ember clinging to life within a hidden sanctuary. She needed to be moved, to be healed, but Ethel, the fierce guardian, would destroy anyone who tried. Anyone except me. My unique gift, a latent genetic marker traced back to a forgotten human colony, was a form of bioresonance. It wasn't psionics, not exactly. It was an ability to subtly align with the biological energy fields of certain life forms, to project a field of absolute neutrality. For humans, it meant I was unreadable, unprovocable. For beasts like the Drakes, it meant I wasn't a threat. I wasn't food, wasn't predator, wasn't prey. I was nothing, and that nothingness, Var believed, was the key to taming a beast that killed armies. I found Ethel in the deepest chasm of the Crimson Spires. He was magnificent, scales the color of molten iron, eyes like embers, and teeth that gleamed like sharpened obsidian. He stood over a cavern entrance, a silent, living mountain. Around him lay the scattered, desiccated remains of a dozen combat mechs and their mercenary pilots. Ash. Just ash. I approached slowly, my suit's external sensors screaming warnings about thermal overload and seismic instability. Ethel's head swiveled, his gaze fixing on me. The ground trembled with the force of his breath. No roar, just a deep, rumbling growl that vibrated through the very bedrock. I raised my hands, empty, open. I'm not here to fight. I projected, my voice carefully modulated, calm, non-threatening. I'm here to help. Ethel's head lowered, his enormous eye drawing level with my visor. I felt a probe, not physical, but a mental tendril, testing, searching. My bioresonance field, usually a subtle hum, flared, actively absorbing his aggressive energy, neutralizing it, sending back a pulse of calm, of understanding. Intruder, The thought echoed in my mind, a guttural roar that dwarfed my own consciousness. Protector, why neutral? I don't seek to harm what you protect. I projected back, maintaining my neutrality. I seek to save it. The bloom, it is fading. The corruption spreads. Another surge of energy from Ethel, laced with what I could only interpret as distress. Fierce and ancient. Fading. Yes. My failing. My strength wanes. Bloom weak. I can help. I can guide you to a place of healing. A place of purity. Vara guides me. The Drake hesitated. His immense form shifted, kicking up plumes of red dust. Then, slowly, impossibly, he lowered his head, his enormous snout coming to rest mere inches from my helmet. He exhaled, a blast of hot, sulfurous air that threatened to melt my visor. But it wasn't a threat. It was an invitation, a testing. I reached out, my gloved hand trembling, and laid it on his snout. His scales were like hardened lava, rough and warm. There was a low rumble in his throat, not aggressive, but deep contemplative. And in my mind, a clear image, a path, a treacherous journey through corrupted lands. The next few weeks were a blur of dust, danger, and impossible communion. I didn't tame Ethel like a riding beast. I became his partner. He didn't carry me. He allowed me to ride, clinging to the rough ridges of his spine, his powerful legs carrying us across canyons and over mountains. My role was to use my bioresonance to guide him through the corrupted zones, places where the very air was toxic to his pure Xylosian form, places where polluted energy would have driven him into a blinding rage against anything living. I was his shield, his pacifier. He was my protector, my unstoppable force. The pain was immense, not physical, but spiritual, as my consciousness stretched, expanding, merging with a vast, ancient sentience of the bloom. I felt the eons of Xylos Prime, its geological cycles, its triumphs and sorrows. I felt the corruption, a parasitic drain on its essence. And then, I poured my own energy, my human resilience, my stubborn will to survive, into the dying heart. The light pulsed, growing stronger, pushing back the shadows. The girl within the bloom shimmered, her form gaining substance, her eyes opening, vast and ancient. A wave of pure, unfiltered vitality washed over me, rejuvenating, cleansing. When I finally separated, stumbling back into the cavern, gasping for breath, the chamber was ablaze with renewed light. The luminous bloom pulsed with vibrant energy, its tendrils reaching out, bright and alive. And the girl, her humanoid form now radiating with inner light, stood beside Vara, smiling. Ethel let out a triumphant roar, a sound of pure joy that echoed through the caverns. He nudged me gently with his massive head, a silent acknowledgement. I looked at Vara, then at the revived bloom. I had risked it all, my life, my sanity, my very essence, to save an alien plant consciousness. And in doing so, I had found a purpose deeper than any mercenary contract. I had tamed a beast, saved a world, and forged a bond that transcended species. And that was a risk I would take 1,000 times over.